swords option, and we're underway.
The uncle asking the hard-hitting questions: why do we only have one bed, and why does a fish sleep in it? Or a princess?
That's a good question. We have a single green rupee.
Well, that's not exactly an exciting start, but most runners are pretty familiar with finding something of low value there. Well, randomized swords. This is an interesting mode, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what item do you think we're going to see first from the uncle?
Well, so I didn't see anything listed from Gesellschaft's bio, what she wants to see. JTB, interestingly enough, said he wanted an ice rod. Personally, I'm a big fan of finding that hammer.
Well, they won't find that ice rod, and I'll get to that in a sec once we see what JTB has. It is 10 bombs.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he meant his early items, not his uncle item. It can't be ice rod, can it?
Yes, because of the fact that the ice rod freezes enemies, it doesn't actually kill them. So you can't be given the ice rod and randomized swords in standard mode.
Bomb start's an interesting start, though. Our runners will have to be very careful about how many bombs they use throughout the escape. They're going to need at least a couple of them to kill required enemies, particularly those blue guards and the key rat towards the back of escape.
Yeah, you're gonna be required to get at least 5. Now, one thing we usually point out is the runners will get will need to farm a bomb for the back of escape, like you said, but being given bombs to start will certainly mean they won't have to farm it, but they have to keep this right number of at least one bomb ready for that.
Now, this happens to a lot of people where they'll end up having to use extra bombs. Something won't go the right way. Key rat's usually the one. And if that does happen and they don't have a weapon to work with, they would have to take a death warp in order to get 3 extra bombs. If you don't have a weapon, it'll respawn you at the mantle in the back half, or Zelda's cell if you've only gotten to there, with 3 more bombs.
Yep. Both runners did pretty good on the first blue guard, because it takes 2 for those.
It's interesting to see that they are still killing enemies. Prize packs in this randomizer are also randomized, as I'm sure you can assume. And we could end up with 1 more bombs or even rupees that we want for Kakariko.
We're seeing very interesting strats in terms of trying to get those guards bombed. Either aggroing them into walking into them, we got a bomb boost medallion, or using geometry on Gesellschaft's side to bonk the guard right into another one.
Yeah, that was really slick. Knowing exactly where that bomb was going to send that guard. I haven't seen that in that particular room, but that's a really smart bomb strat. If you guys want to see more interesting bomb strats, I'm pretty sure both of these runners are going to put it on display for us in this escape.
Yep. Now with these ball and chain cards, you just need 2 pots to the face, and that'll take care of them, so they'll save their bombs here.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to note, is that we want to avoid using as much ammunition as possible. But we have fast travel with the flute in Princess Zelda's chest.
Very early flute.
Also, we're going to see a sub-10-minute Goose is Loose.
There's something... I'm not really... There's something that's something about Zelda leading Zelda.
Well, I mean, I can't make the Princess and Another Crystal joke because we are clearly playing as Princess, but interestingly enough, the sprites do look a little bit different in color palette. I'm wondering why that is.
Because it's because those are made from a sprite artist, because obviously the Zelda sprites in the game don't have the full range of motions that you would need for Link. So I imagine that's another sprite artist, someone else trying to do as best they can to copy it, but do all the motions that we need.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think the part that I was confused about, the crown jewel at the top, that's the green mail. Chat pointing it out. That's why that's colored differently.
Exactly. Oh, that makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because there's a few different Zelda sprites to work with. I just saw a match last night with a dark Zelda as well, which turns into a bunny with dark bunny with the pigtails. Pretty funny. A lot of really interesting sprites, and folks, there are like almost 100 of them, maybe even more by now.
We have a whole bunch of sprite artists that do a great job, so that we have a little bit of customization in this customized world.
But besides the niceness of different, oh gosh, we're having some bad RNG with snakes and and both of our runners just really getting trolled. They're just going to have to take that half-hearted damage to boost through. Oh, we still have 3 more chests to check back here and Sanctuary. I don't believe we've seen that map yet.
No, we have not. If you have not played Standard Mode before, the dungeon items are in their respective dungeons, but are randomized within said dungeons. So we've seen the small key, which we needed to get through that one door. Oh.
Just to ask you, did you see that bomb not actually damage the rat there?
Yeah, I saw that too.
I'm
Gesellschaft
so
down to 1. All right, JTB got it. Oh, come on. You got it. Oh! Oh, no.
Oh, it's gamble time. I mean, are you gonna, go back and take a death warp? Or I think it's a death warp here.
Yeah, I think that's what Gesellschaft is setting up. All right, so we had a hook shot, $100. And I'm going to check on the restream what the third item was in the back of Escape.
It was another 300. So, yeah, that death warp's going to pay off immediately. This is maybe a 1.5-minute time sink, but as opposed to maybe potentially finding those power gloves, say, on Death Mountain, which Eastside is now available to us, if that were the case, then Gesellschaft would not have a better chance to go to this escape. This has happened to me personally in a seed, so I'm glad to see that we're getting the bombs.
Yep, now that means that the map is going to be in the Sanctuary chest. Or no, maybe... Oh, we did see the map. I completely forgot. That's a beat. So we got a B-Torp, which will help us with Sick Kid.
I think the map was either in the blue guard chest on the way down, or... yeah, it had to have been. But we will get a check over here in the north side. Looks like Aghanims Lumberjack Cave, and possibly even checking some tree poles in Hoarder RNG.
There we go. Unfortunately, Gesellschaft will have to come back, because she used up all the bombs to get that rat.
That's extra tough because, I mean, we already had to do a death warp. It's not like you really want to do it twice.
And just a piece of heart in the Lumberjack Cave, so we may need Aga for Dark World access, but we won't need it for a required item.
Yeah, that's definitely welcome news. And some runners have different opinions about whether or not you should check the Lumberjack Cave. If you don't have boots, if you don't have whatever you need to get to Aghanim anyway. I can see the logic behind it, but I would much rather know personally.
Yeah, for me, I just want the knowledge.
But the hookshot and flute are huge things for JTB here. Now, if this leads to important progression on the mountain, this could be very difficult for Gesellschaft. I believe I saw crystals at Tower of Hera and Eastern Palace. I didn't see Desert.
It had a crystal also. I think Eastern was also a 5/6 crystal.
All right, the Hoarder has just green rupees. We didn't get a chance to check the 7th item out of that because that would take a while. I want to remind people, though, I mean, this is the first 10 minutes of the game. For all we know, that hookshot might not lead to a whole lot right away, and it could even send JTB in some, non sequiturs. You could end up going for all kinds of things. So this is very early on. I mean, very good chance that Gesellschaft's going to remember that.
The thing is that you are gonna need to clear the game unless you know how to hover.
And actually, I have seen Gesellschaft do hovers, so that is something that we might actually end up seeing today. Though I think pretty much everyone here would agree that, hookshot's likely a required item here. Well, Bottle Vendor didn't have a whole lot. I think that may have been a piece of heart.
Nope, 6 Kid just having $20. And we got a bloomerang in the back of the tavern.
Bloomerang, best meringue, fight me.
Max Plus Pie saying that it was Quake that was what the Bottle Vendor had.
Oh, okay, so that is potentially important.
Interesting from not getting that money in the back of Escapes, Gesellschaft doesn't have enough money for the Bottle Vendor right now. She has a bomb, so she can at least do Blind's Hut, but we'll need to get another bomb drop, or she won't have enough for everything that we need bombs for here.
Yeah, kind of having to make a tactical decision about what we would actually want to open up with this bomb. We do have items in the well available to us, the same number of them actually. So this is the closer choice, seems to be why we would have picked this one.
All right, Piece of Heart Fighter Sword, $300. So, we're good on Bottle Vendor and Fisher Price my first shield.
Well, I mean, we definitely have a lot of resources here. This does look like a thieves' hideout at this point. A lot of cash, too. JTB at some point may opt to end up going to Zora earlier than we would typically see in most races.
Which is very ironic that a cheap is going to need some water toes in order to be able to swim.
Could be the flying variety. We did just see him jump off a ledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor Hyrule, please join us in the playing of the National Swag Duck Anthem.
Play ball.
And the cheap is, I have no rhyme for that.
Just a little bit of love here in the well. Nothing too exciting just yet. While there are other bombable places here in the village, we have the Chicken Shack. Great place to grab a bite to eat or possibly a chicken clip or two.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. Just triple bombs.
Well, at least you get a refund out of that.
MC Gozer is also pointing out Moon Pearl was in the well as also. Words.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay, so Moon Pearl is huge.
Click, clack, blah. Words again. Clicked cow. Thank you. The cheap is ready to leap. I like it.
Hey, I'm a fan of the alliterative names myself, and you won't be the only one to stumble over some words today. Well, it's race game time, and Cheap not opting to be super fast here.
Yep, there's a heart container there, and JTB's not bothering with it.
We'll also get the rest of our standard Southside checks. Very nice hookshot through the block that's moving while it's a sprite, but that's only going to give us a heart.
Yeah, just $20 there. And $20 when you drain the swamp.
Oh, there was a 20 on the first one. Well, the clairvoyance on that second one. I thought you were guessing that one.
That's all right. All right, now next up is 5 more items here at the mini Trolldorm Cave.
Very nice to have hookshot.
Yeah, it's gonna make some pretty quick work of these mini Trolldorms. Although you still gotta get them while they're dodging. But quick work there. And we got 10 arrows, $20, the Master Sword, a piece of heart, and some red goo.
Wow, the Master Cave.
So, if you're not wanting Aghanim to be your Dark World access, well, you're a lamp away from being able to do Aghanim.
Yeah, it's definitely coming up, and we haven't seen anything like a lift upgrade or, you know, maybe a hammer, and those are things that would really help us get to the Dark World outside of Aghanim.
In fact, without the Power Glove, you basically have 8 checks left. You have here at Ice Rock Cave, 3 in Sahasrah's Closet, the 3 potential items in Eastern Palace, and a Genis Cave. Oh no, I forgot. Fluke can get you up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, and the hookshot would be in logic. Typically, unfortunately, Gesellschaft will not be able to check those items, so it'd be interesting to see if we end up making an extra trip up to Death Mountain. I would think that based on what I know from having seen previous matches from her, I don't think she would go up there until she has to, but remains to be seen.
Yep, JTB getting that map check and is going to head over to Eastern Palace and Sahasrah's Closet.
Yeah, as far as item density plays go, this makes a lot of sense. If you can possibly get Death Mountain later with more progression items in your wallet, it's going to be better. So, I mean, you might as well check Sahasrah first. Well, we have some mushroom on the desert ledge. That's potentially a fetch quest worth looking at, but we're going to get Sahaz with us on now.
Piece of heart, triple bombs, and $20. Very useless closet.
Yep, turns out Sahasrala is the crazy old uncle who just stores a lot of things in his storage unit. His storage unit did not have much for us today. He will probably auction that off, but in the meantime, we're going to make our way right up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, not even going to bother with Eastern Palace. And there's Ether, so 15 minutes in, and we have all 3 medallions at this point.
Of course, Gesellschaft definitely didn't want to see that, knowing for certain at this point that it's got to be an escape, what she's looking for, although she can still make it up to Death Mountain, so I think that she probably checks that first. Or... oh, we didn't do this yet, did we?
Nope, she hasn't. Yeah, having to redo escape has put Gesellschaft behind a little bit.
Now, of course, because we all understand in version 29, the logic does sometimes send us in very weird places for items. Cough, cough, vanilla turtle rock flippers. You know, we also realize that early on, while there may be a difference here, really hard to say what this is going to do for the race. But there's no disputing it. JTB has a lot more locations to check right now.
All right, so we have $20 outside of Spectacle Rock, and inside of Spectacle Rock, we have a 5-arrow upgrade. So if there's progression on east side of Death Mountain, Gesellschaft is gonna have to go back for that hook shot and escape.
Yeah, we don't have anything on the left half, so it's looking like a foregone conclusion on that one. We're almost gonna have to. I can't imagine where else progression would be but Eastern Palace.
We've got the 7 items in Paradox Cave and the 1 item in Spiral Cave.
Though, you know, if we're feeling bold about a dark room, Gesellschaft could actually go to the Dark World through Ganon.
All right, we got $50 and a piece of heart to start.
Paradox Cave Jr. not being too valuable, but let's see if the main stage has a little bit more for us. 3 mini Moldorms singing some Motown classics down here on the stage. We have to join the audience where the real goods are, though.
5-bomb upgrade, 10 arrows, $20.
This ain't looking that good.
Das Boots!
Them or those. So, yeah, that's good.
Really only opens up bonk rocks, though. It doesn't really help in terms of progression, though.
Absolutely true. There's only a few things that we can really do with them, and until we have either Mirror and Dark World access on, you know, the graveyard area or potentially Titan's Mids, we won't have that King's Tomb either. But definitely a good quality of life thing to find. JTB is going to have a pretty hefty speed advantage at this point. Of course, what he does with that determines whether or not that's going to pay off big time or not, but Gesellschaft's going to be a little upset about finding not really anything of value here. A quiver upgrade and a big 20.
Yep, we got $300 on the floating islands, so no one's really hurting for money right now, so I don't imagine we'll be seeing that at any time soon.
Now, we didn't see a save and quit out of Gesellschaft. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, we're going to go into Eastern with this.
I mean, that's pretty much her only option at this point. And frankly, JTB's too, because unless this is something...
Whoa!
Hammer is something!
A little more than something. That's Dark World access around most of the world.
We still need a lift upgrade. That's access to Hera, though.
I mean, I guess we could go long routes around. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. The fast portals, that's all we need is a lift upgrade at this point. Well, so this is pretty bad news for Gesellschaft, although once she does do the escape, I mean, it's going to be very straightforward to go get that hammer anyway, so all in all, not a crazy big time loss as far as, you know, total time sunk into things. She has made checks that JTB is likely to make as well. Eastern's going to be a bit of a gamble here, though, because, you know, we got to find that bow, let alone the lamp, and that's not even in progression yet. So
Yeah,
Tower of Hair is also likely placed for that lamp.
So, Lost Carol bringing up a good point. Hera could be lamp locked, and seeing that small key, that could mean we have to go do a coffee break before we can finish Hera.
Yeah, we're gonna find out with this chest just north of JTB whether or not this is lamp locked. Gotta be a big key. Whoa, that's a cane of Samaria.
Now that's a cane of Brian. If you are watching, Brian, we have found your cane, and please come to the Lost and Found in Tower of Hair to claim that. But that means that, so at this point, all of that progression that JTB has done in Death Mountain doesn't mean anything in terms of the progression that Gesellschaft has been looking for.
I still wish it was Cane of Samaria, to be honest with you. Would have been kind of interesting to see where that could potentially lead us progression-wise, but Cane of Burno really only giving us that Spike Cave.
There's your power glove.
Alright, so the gambit worked.
So, about that thing that I said that stuff in Death Mountain didn't really lead to any progression, yeah, no.
Well, so this is really big for Gesellschaft. Now, unless she finds Bo in the rest of this, front half of the dungeon, she's not going to be able to finish it. So this is pretty much a double dip at this point, without some really good luck. But this will send her back to escape and then immediately to Death Mountain. She knows exactly where she can go from here. So assuming that she makes that decision, we should be in good shape here.
Yeah, so for those that may have just joined us, we got 10 bombs to start from Uncle in the escape sequence. Gesellschaft unfortunately used up all of her bombs trying to get the rat with the key, and so had to death warp to get some bombs back. And so that's why she is at a slower pace than where JTB is at. The hook shot was in the back of escape, and so that has prevented Gesellschaft from checking the east side of Death Mountain.
Interesting thing, we saw an interesting choice made by Gesellschaft there. We know that the item is either going to be at the Vanilla Big Key chest or at Armos himself. So she's taking the 50-50 gamble on this dark room, knowing that she can't get here without the lamp in logic. Quite a bold play, but she knows that she feels behind, has felt pretty blocked by other progression. And not only that, but, well, I mean, Power Glove, was that going to lead to other progression? I guess it could have.
Basically, all of the Power Glove really did was basically get Gesellschaft back of escape.
Yeah, this is great news for her. JTB is also going to find his Power Glove here in Eastern Palace, but not much else, and we know that Bo's not here, so he's not going to be able to clear it either. This really helps Gesellschaft get back in this.
Yes.
Although JTB did need to be here anyway for that Power Glove.
Apparently, chat is reminding me that it is Gesellschaft.
Oh, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, but there's that hook shot, and so she's now back on track.
Yeah, so a little delayed to receive it, but Gesellschaft does find it, so that's going to send us right up to Death Mountain. We're going to find that hammer not too long after, and we're going to see where our runners will decide to go with their newly found better Dark World access. I'm curious as to see what's going to be the first choice for these runners. Hammer does a lot.
Yeah, realistically, at this point, with Hera being lamp locked, Thieves Town really is the only dungeon that's able to be full cleared at this point.
Well, JTB is going to have to make his decision on whether he wants to do a dark room or not. Same 50-50 gamble to make, so we'll see some potential diversions there.
And he's just going to nope out.
And looking at JTB's screen, well, Gesellschaft has the boots, so the run can now start, obviously. But JTB's going to opt for the north of Swamp Palace portal first. So this is going to be a hype cave check, it looks like. Ooh, Dark World map. We have Green Pendant at Ice Palace. We have 2 pendants that are not green at Misery Mire and Thieves Town. Very interesting.
Skullwoods is your other 5/6 crystal also. But to your point, we're going to get a hype cave check first from JTB.
Also a hover from Gesellschaft. Very nicely done. Let's see if the hype cave lives up to that kind of hype.
We got a piece of heart to start. We got a mirror. We got a red meringue. We got another piece of heart and a shovel.
So, I mean, at least you get the mirror with your shovel. I mean, the fetch quest kind of continues, but, I mean, I feel like it was all ruined by the red meringue.
Well, you could... The thing is that getting the mirror and the shovel, you could go check Stumpy and then immediately mirror and strike the earth for an item.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I mean, it feels very familiar for our runners, being kind of like the NMG way of doing it. But with the hammer, Gesellschaft found everything that she's going to get here in the mountain for now, opting probably to head elsewhere pretty quickly.
All right, so we got Blue Mail, JTB switches worlds, switches to the shovel, strikes the earth for triple bombs.
Oh, I was wrong about, we haven't checked Hera for Gesellschaft. So Stumpy and Shovel not being much, he's probably going to make his way, I would think, to K45. It's right here.
Certainly would make sense.
I feel like this is either a super letdown or an amazing thing.
$50.
With all the Zora cash we have now, probably not of importance. But if we were short, that would be a nice find. But if all pans out correctly, both Gesellschaft and JTB will have made the same decision about Hera here. Should very quickly be noping out of there. So JTB has a bit of an advantage so far in Dark World checks, that being really the biggest separation between our runners at this point.
All right, and JTB is going to head over to the digging game. We're at 10 digs, 11.
Holy dig RNG, you Batman.
There you go, $50 for all those digs.
Yeah, $50 for 50 digs. I mean, wow. Well, so that wasn't exactly the most bountiful sequence of checks there. JTB finding absolutely nothing for his trouble in the Dark World so far. Gonna get a nice spin speed off the library staircase, though, to get to Kakariko a little faster. I think Village of Outcasts?
Certainly seems like that's what's in play.
I like where both of our runners are routing, though. They're making very similar decisions once they have the same items here. Both of them are going for the high-density plays, and that's going to result in the mirror pretty quickly. That's really important for the following routing from this point forward. So I gotta wonder, you don't have Fire Rod, you do have the hammer. I mean, this feels like Thieves Town, right?
Oh, certainly.
Of course, it's very strange to dive in there with a pendant, but at the same time, you know, there's 4 pretty easy to check chests right away.
I mean, I probably would do Skullwoods first and just see if I can get the 2 items beforehand, on the off chance that the Fire Rod is in there.
Yeah, and while there's only 2 items in Skull Woods, it very much can be that Fire Rod. And the Fire Rod would be just an absolutely fantastic find. Well, Bombable Hut is going to yield for us just 5 rupees, nothing of value here. We can still head towards, well, we did the digging game. We can't do blacksmiths or purple chest. There is Peg Cave. We could check that.
You could also go north and check Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb.
Yeah, that mirror really makes things easier for our runners. They were otherwise waiting on Titan's Mitts for that. Well, JTB is going to opt to grab the Peg Cave after doing this, being the only remaining check. He may be looking to hopefully route that in with other items, potentially finding powder before them.
You need You need the Titan's Mitts for Peg Cave.
Wait for Peg Cave just outside of Blacksmith's? Oh yeah, to get in.
Yeah, those two big black rocks are there.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm forgetting that. But the magic bat, though, if we had the powder or mushroom at this point, we could fake powder. That would be the next thing that they would go over there for. Though I think without Titan's Mitts, there's really not much reason to be there.
Believe me, there's plenty of times that I forget the one thing you need to get into a specific dungeon or whatnot. Oh, there's an ice rod.
Well, I believe JTB in his profile did want to see that ice rod. He didn't want a pedestal seed, so he might be feeling pretty good about that find, actually.
Especially considering Turtle Rock is a crystal.
Well, Gesellschaft isn't going to do any kind of manual labor for free. We'll take those 50 rupees.
I mean, look, if you want me to dig up your yard and you're going to force me to pay 80 bucks to dig up your yard for you, I'm going to at least get that money back.
Yeah, really got to work on the contract negotiations at that point. That's not a favorable deal, but we know that library here, nothing of value. Gesellschaft trying to get spin speed off of it. Meanwhile, JTB is going through the Hellway. Didn't manage to get the God Pixel to dash all the way through, but hasn't taken much damage. He's in good shape to fight blind.
All right, so since somebody mentioned Fire Rod being a ped, let's check on our favorite pedestal hype index. Thieves Town, we have everything to clear it. Ice Palace, with having Bombos, we have everything to clear it. Meyer, Cane of Samaria is going to can't be on the pedestal because we need it for that, as well as the lamp. Oh, there's Titan's Mitts.
Oh, that's a find. Wow. What a great play to come into, whoa, Thieves Town. Like, and it's a pendant dungeon too, so, you know, I mean, you got to think that he doesn't want to see stuff in here. But, I mean, having found it, he probably feels like he made a great play here. That's deep in the dungeon.
This certainly was the play. 2 required items inside a pendant dungeon.
Well, C-shaped house from before wasn't anything of serious value. We do still have a couple of potential chests here. I don't believe we're missing anything after that map, so I think we might have one more item.
Looks like JTB is not going to bother with it, so...
Yeah, so he may be able to exclude it. I haven't seen a menu in a moment.
Blind with those puns, and JTB's already through first phase of blind. Chat reminding us that there was no small key, so either the item's going to be on blind or wow,
that's an item.
Okay.
Stacked Thieves Town.
A stacked pendant Thieves Town indeed.
That's the tough thing too. I mean, blind's not a very difficult fight for these runners. They both do the NMG speed run, but Gesellschaft will leave Thieves Town because it is a pendant. No. And wow.
Oh no. That is the last thing you want to see Gesellschaft do.
Now, I mean, the one bright side is that without those Titan's Mitts and the flippers, you know, there are quite a few constraints on progression at this point. It's pretty likely that Gesellschaft will end up coming back here. The only problem with it is she's probably going to check a bunch of different places she doesn't need to.
And she thought about going back in and didn't. All right, Rubel in chat is asking what we're going on about. So here's the list of things in a pendant Thieves Town. Titan's Mitts, the flippers, and there was one other thing that was Ice Rod. Those 3 things are in your pendant thieves town today. Gesellschaft just walked out.
And also, we did get a graveyard ledge check. That's going to be a piece of heart. So Gesellschaft really wants to find some kind of progression item in here. There's only 2 items in Skull Woods, though, so pretty low chances. If it's a fire rod, that's good, though. But Canis Samaria is at least something.
Oh, it is certainly something.
And it looks like we're going to get another hover, but we're going to get hit by that mini Moldorm.
The mini Trolldorm trolls again, but in ways that you would not normally expect. And only a small key for the troubles. Alright, so now that a Cheep has finally learned how to swim, I imagine this is a play for Swamp Palace.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of good items for it. And, you know, we know that Swamp Palace is required, so we can make some gambles about where items are in here, and if we have to come back in, you know, not going to have too much trouble doing so. We could easily just, you know, mirror out if we have to. But so far, looking like a bust besides Canis Samaria for Gesellschaft. Skullwood's not being too profitable for us here. May end up heading back towards Thieves Town. I mean, having only found that, but I feel like that does lead her to a couple of different places that, I mean, we have both medallions, for example. But it looks like we'll get the same checks that JTB did in the North Dark World. I did not see Bumper Cave before, so we'll have that, only being a big 20.
Yeah, I remember seeing it being a big 20 when JTB did it.
We know these Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb aren't too valuable, so Swamp Palace could be some good intel here. I want to say like a bow is probably the biggest thing to find.
Well, I was trying to go through this when JTB was in Thieves Town, but we had a lot to discuss as that was going on. In terms of pedestal, Fire Rod could be on the pedestal, bow could be on the pedestal. Lamp can't be on the pedestal because we need it for Meyer. So in terms of go mode, in terms of official go mode, we are a fire rod, a bow, and a lamp away from go mode. Now, whether or not either of these runners actually need said lamp is a different conversation altogether.
And I know both of these runners have practiced their dark rooms. I believe they can do all of the dark rooms that are completable without the lamp. So I'm thinking at this point, you know, we just need some kind of fire source if there's a fire-locked, you know, item that we need. But beyond that, I mean, I want to say that bow is going to be the most important find.
Well, we're going to need one of those fire sources because Hera, we have confirmed, is fire-locked. We need the fire to brew the coffee in the coffee break room.
You raise a good point. You need to be piping hot in order to make your very fast ascent up to the top of the tower. You need to have that caffeine. And of course, it would always be a funny troll to see a book at this point.
$20 in the big chest.
Well, being able to check that big chest, JTB is going to opt to check the left side. Does not want to miss whatever item it is that he needs next for progression.
All right, Gesellschaft is heading back. So lost a little bit, gonna lose a little bit of time going back in, but at least she will get the Titan's mitts and the flippers.
Yeah, this is a really, well, heads up as far as we know. I mean, of course, Story doesn't have any idea, you know, what's in here, has no clue what she's about to find. So we're happy to see it, of course, you know, because nobody wants to see anybody get that stuck behind, you know, logic. But, you know, if Swamp Palace doesn't end up being anything of importance, this could help Gesellschaft kind of get back into the progression lead, which she had a chance of doing up until she walked away from this dungeon. Oh, she gets the God Pixel, but RNG kind of messes her over. That stings.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have 2 item checks for JTB here on the left side. We do have that big key already, so we know that there's only a couple of things left in here.
Well, he still hasn't done the back portion. Map.
You know, the good thing here for Gesellschaft is she is opening up that door, which means she's probably going to actually go to blind.
Yeah, and she's not real happy with fighting those Titans myths.
Uh-oh. And we have left without the flippers.
Gesellschaft, what are you doing?
Not like this. Not like this. Well, I mean, flippers. So, Ice Palace we might not even go to. It's possible. We could end up routing Swamp Palace far later. I don't believe JTB has found anything significant yet in Swamp Palace. So if there's nothing of, super big importance here, Gesellschaft could eventually. This is bad. I mean, because it's going to take a while to exhaust what you get from the Titans Myths.
Absolutely. All right, Gesellschaft is going to rescue Jeremiah the Bullfrog. We got Tempered Sword and $20 in Swamp Palace.
Well, that's one of the most welcome places to find a Tempered Sword. This makes the boss considerably faster.
Piece of Heart. Yeah, you won't even need to think about doing Menu Simulator 2018 for on Argus.
Or I suppose, would you call it Menu Simulator 1991? Oh no, this is based on Japanese 1.0. 89, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well...
You're absolutely right. It is so much better to do this fight without having to do all the menuing. JTB not going to try for the 0 cycle strategy, which you could do. You could do the full NMG strat here. No big deal, though. Definitely going to get this in 1 or maybe even 2 cycles. We had a blacksmith check and a purple chest, so Gesellschaft not finding anything from all of that.
With that Cane of Samaria, Gesellschaft's going to check Meyer, Ether Medallion, but it's trivial. We've had all 3 medallions since 15 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's your kind of like instinct play there. But a bow or even a fire source would be huge here.
Yeah, because with the flippers, JTB is certainly on his way to Ice Palace at this point. Because that's the next full clearable crystal dungeon.
Well, I think, Ice Palace is the green pendant, so, I mean, that's still definitely worth checking, though. I mean, because if Sahazra happens to have that bow or, fire source, that'd be clutch.
Right, things. I'm forgetting about things.
No worries, I do it all the time.
We are, okay, I may have mistaken that Ice Palace is a crystal dungeon. Desert, on the other hand, is, but we're still locked out by a fire source.
Yeah, the good news for doing this check is, we do have mirror, we do have boots, so at least a little bit that's working in our favor, but yeah, there's no way getting around that fire source.
Hobo just having a little bit of love today.
I'm always questioning a little bit the love under the bridge. I'm never really sure if that's, a good thing or not. Oh! There's a fire rod for Gesellschaft in desert. Holy smokes.
Okay, then.
All right, so then I guess the corollary question here is, when would you go to Desert Palace if you're in JTB shoes?
As soon as I finish up Zora.
Yeah, I sure wish, if I was him, I would be wishing for that particular scenario, watching this VOD, but We don't know exactly what will be the next play. There are quite a few things we can go to, all of which don't look too appealing because they all require items that, you know, we want to find in those dungeons to complete them. Tower of Hera is still fire locked. We can't do that yet. Skullwoods will have Kena Samaria, though.
To your earlier point about Hobo, the Lost Carol has the perfect meme for this. Our love ain't water under the bridge.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's see what the most expensive salesperson on Earth has. He has just Quiver upgrade for us. Not a good find.
Nope, not at all.
And by the looks of things, I didn't see Zora Ledge, but JTB having flippers did not go to check it, so it looked like it was junk.
It was the Arrow of Destiny.
I would have gone for that. Jeez, what's he doing? He's gonna need that for Ganon, right? Well,
so
maybe.
So the legend says.
Well, so one thing that's really paying off for Gesellschaft here is finding that fire rod before diving into Mire. I have to think that's probably where she's heading next. But she'll have that fire source for the vanilla big key chest, which JTB will not have.
Unless JTB decides to do desert first. Because he certainly has the means to do it as well.
And that would be the smart routing. So folks out there who are, you know, kind of taking notes about how these runners are handling these situations, and I would say they've both been in some pretty weird situations in this seed. You know, keep in mind, if you have that mirror, very easy to take care of both these dungeons all in one cycle if you do it the way that Gesellschaft and presumably JTB here will do it after checking checkerboard. Well, that's a Lamb Molus, Big 20 and checkerboard. JTB's out of there, but Gesellschaft has a decision to make.
And that flute is going to head...
Tower of Hera, looks like.
Tower of Hera, certainly. She also has the means to finish Turtle Rock.
Oh, she does. Wow. What if we find Bow on Trinex?
That would certainly be a thing.
Got a feel for Gesellschaft here not having the Tempered Sword like JTB does, though. That Tempered Sword is a huge advantage. She didn't have much magic for that fight, and his Lamb Molus will probably be a lot easier. Oh, Chad also pointing out that there's the Dead Rock. Gesellschaft probably a little upset about that. But also pointing out that she didn't get the mushroom that was on the ledge. And JTB's also getting his fire rod, so we're back at it again.
Yeah, basically at this point, in terms of what these runners need for Go mode, we're pretty much a bow away from what the logic thinks you need for Go mode is also going to require the lamp.
And of course, JTB still needs to go to Skull Woods for that cane.
True. And JTB forgetting about that mushroom as well. No, he got it. I missed that earlier, sorry.
But that does give us a chance to potentially find out what that is. That's a very quick flute away.
Yeah, so the thing about these runners being able to do dark rooms and may not need the lamp. The thing is that lamp will help in terms of the logic of knowing where that bow could be. Because if we haven't found the lamp yet, the bow is not going to be in a well, it actually could be. Never mind.
Typically speaking, though, it wouldn't be behind a dark room. Though, I think the reason that you're correcting yourself there is because there are still items that we haven't checked for yet, and potentially one of those locations could be lamp. Therefore, it could be behind a dark room. But it's generally not the best place to start looking. I agree with your sentiments there. Well, I got to think that now that JTB has that fire rod, pretty likely to go to Skull Woods after this.
There's the bow. Okay.
We're climbing back up Death Mountain later. Oh no, we're just gonna mirror out because we had low health. Okay, so I thought for a second there she was noping out of there, but she will take advantage of this entire trip.
No, I think it's just faster to just, if you have the mirror back to start, to head over to the pokey room.
Yeah, it's very close in terms of time, like the NMG timing for doing that. But you do have the advantage of not having to take a damage boost. Well, we can't count on a fairy drop from that pokey like we can when we're doing the speed run. We're just going to have to hope that the chain chomps are friendly here. They're looking pretty good so far.
Very nicely done on Gesellschaft's point.
In the meantime, looks like JTB's going to head towards, well, it looks like it, going to head towards Skull Woods, which is a good play for him.
Yep, and that's what he's doing.
Definitely want to point out, since we did find that bow at around 50 minutes of the game, we are in no mode as far as we can tell, with the exception of Lamp, which may or may not actually be necessary here for our runners. So just to be clear, Chad, about what we actually need for like literal go mode, where we absolutely are able to finish the seed, we should have to have Lamp, and Gesellschaft will also want to have those flippers. JTB simply needs the Cane of Samaria, which I think he may have just picked up, and he needs his bow as well in the Lamp.
Yep, and although JTB is going straight for Mothula.
Yep, it's a good play to make. You know, it will take some time and magic if you mess something up. You know, it could potentially backfire, but if you got to kill Mothula anyway, you might as well take the 50-50 odds. You don't have to check that out of the chest. So I guess the most important thing to keep these racers close together is whether or not we head back into Thieves Town sometime soon.
JTB is into Mothula. Let's talk about that once this fight is done, which it is.
Didn't have to wait long on that one. That was quick.
And just a map for JTB's troubles and a crystal. So, with Gesellschaft finding the bow, I imagine she'll do Eastern and Pod. Probably also do Hera while she's here.
And tries the hover for swag. I like that.
I mean, she basically can do all of the crystal dungeons except for Swamp Palace. She may go to... Thing is, she may go to Meyer before going back to Thieves Town for the flippers, because she only needs that for she only needs the flippers to complete Swamp Palace.
And that's the really tough thing too, is, you know, she's making good choices for dungeon routing overall. I mean, looking at being able to do 2 on this ascent to Death Mountain, you know, get Palace of Darkness and Eastern done at the same time. Those are good things. But JTB has made good decisions so far and probably will be a little bit ahead based on his current routing so far. So I'm curious to see if there's going to be an execution gap between these two. I do know that there's a 10-minute difference in their NMG PBs. I'm wondering if that'll be a factor here. Gesellschaft showing us the Dark Room strats here for the Dark Maze. That's impressive. Meanwhile, JTB should be finding that Cane of Samaria very shortly.
All right, so for those of you that may have just joined us, so we had bombs on Uncle. Gesellschaft unfortunately ran out of bombs on the rat and had to do a death warp to get more bombs to get through escape, and had to forego back of escape, which had the hook shot. Then your pendant Thieves Town today contained an ice rod, Titan's mitts, and flippers. Gesellschaft noped out of Thieves Town the first time after getting the ice rod, decided to go back in and get the Titan's mitts, and noped out again, and has yet to go get the flippers on Blind.
Yeah, it's also a little extra lousy because she has to go all the way to the basement to go pick up the maiden. So, you know, a bit of a time sink. You know, to have to do that on the 3rd trip is going to feel really rough. But I got to think that if Gesellschaft does this right, she'll check this. She'll do Tower of Hera. Both are fast dungeons. Palace of Darkness, she'll probably full clear, or at least clear to the maximum of the logic. And then Eastern Palace, she has everything but the lamp. So, you know, I mean, there's good reason to think that she'll go back there before ice. I'm wondering at this point, how far behind does this put her? Oh, and Chad asking about the laser bridge skip there. So only the front part of that laser actually does damage to you. So if you time your dash right, you can actually dash right through it, no problem. Same thing with fire bar snakes. Well, the fire snakes, not the fire bars that spin.
Just got a little bit of love for turning in the mushroom.
Yeah, not the greatest find ever, and without powder, we probably won't have access to that magic bat anytime soon, which I think could potentially have that lamp, right? Kind of a one-off, though. I don't expect most people to try to fake flipper that one. Or not fake flipper, fake powder that one. Ooh, also of note, JTB picked up a lot of potions on his way up to the mountain, so it looks like he's probably going to try the same thing that Gesellschaft's doing, maybe from the other side. Oh, these hammer trinecks, though. Very nicely done here.
Yep. Down he goes.
Well, it isn't bow, and it can't be lamp, so what are we going to get on trinecks today? Let's find out.
How about a heart container?
Oh, it's not even Sankart. I just can't remember. Where was that last sword upgrade that JTB picked up?
Let's ponder that while JTB takes his coffee break.
Yeah, he's definitely got some time to contemplate his decisions this run.
Although he's just gonna go for it. He's not gonna get the iframes. There's the lamp in Hookshot Cave.
Ooh, okay, so JTB is likely to go get that pretty soon. Ooh, and the swag net. Now we can, well, Aghanim's obviously required at this point, right?
Aghanim's officially dead at this point.
Hey, I think if you get that net, it's a sign. But so interesting thing about these Cheap strats, he is crossing the room several times like a Cheap would. I wonder if he's showing us his sprite's character here.
Very possible. Tempered sword.
Might have been here, actually.
No, Silver Arrows is here.
Well, that does give Gesellschaft a nice thing, because if she doesn't have Tempered Sword, there are a few places where, you know, those could really come in handy, actually. I'm thinking specifically Palace of Darkness and Eastern.
I remember where it was. It was in Swamp Palace. It was in the basement. So assuming this is going to go the way it's probably going to go for Gesellschaft, she will probably just go mode Swamp at that point and could very well miss that Tempered Sword.
Now, on the bright side, we didn't find it on the left half, so if she does go, you know, to the back for the item density, being that that's available, that would actually be a decent chance to find it anyway. This is turning out very interesting. Well, Gesellschaft did attempt the boom dash and might even go for another one. This is the swaggiest way to get your break.
Oh, very nicely done.
Just for the folks out there who have not seen an item dash of that sort, you can do an item dash by dashing and hitting an item on the same frame, but you can also input another direction to, for example, throw your boomerang in a different direction. So it's 3 perfect inputs to do that. It's very, it's not that hard to do, it just takes some practice to get right.
And even with Hyper Trolled Arm, JTB takes him down.
Yeah, that corner is a really rough place to fight him.
Gets a heart container for his troubles and another crystal, which will put him at 5, or no, 4.
Yeah, so he definitely has a commanding lead. The progression for him pretty straightforward. You can do Turtle Rock, might as well go to it, and you don't want to go to Eastern Palace or Palace of Darkness without the bow, so he's got to be thinking it's there. So it would appear the big separation between our runners here is probably going to be a Swamp Palace. If Gesellschaft takes that in relative go mode, she has a chance to catch up a little bit of time.
It's really just going to come down to, does she get to go back to Thieves Town before doing Mire?
Yeah, that's literally it, because that's the only other place she can check, and being that there's only 2 items in Mire, that's a tough call to make. I mean, she has to know that she had missed something in Thieves Town, though.
I mean, to be honest, she doesn't know. For all she knows, Pod could be holding the flippers.
Yeah, and that will change whether or not we go mode these dungeons. Ooh, that's rough news.
Because the thing is, if it was Crystal Ice Palace, you could fake flipper. There is no way to fake flipper to Swamp Palace.
Yeah, if someday we ever find an indoor fake flipper that isn't considered a major glitch, you know, doesn't exploit the sprite layers, then we would probably have a much faster NMG speedrun than we currently do. But that is the holy grail of the NMG speedrun right now. Until we find that internal fake flippers, we're going to be searching for a long time for flippers in Randomizer. Well, definitely going to fill up some potions. Seems like a good time. Got a lot of money. In the meantime, JTB is going to check everything in Turtle Rock on his way. He's going to find that bow in a moment. Interesting side note here. We found the lamp before. I'm wondering if JTB will keep looking for where he will eventually find the silvers in Hookshot Cave. Or was that was Super Bunny Cave? I'm getting them mixed up.
It was Super Bunny Cave.
While our instincts seem to be right about Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace, neither of our runners have been in Palace of Darkness, so we don't know the exact logic of this dungeon. Now, with some smart key logic, we could potentially skip quite a few chests in here. It remains to be seen if we're going to be heads up to notice, you know, the particular logic of the dungeon. JTB here getting trolled a little bit by these chain chomps.
Gesellschaft's going to pay off Kiki the Extortionist and head right into Pod, although she's... Oh!
What just happened?
What happened with Kiki?
I've never seen that error message before.
Kiki had the money. Or, I mean, Gesell had the money.
Is it possible she had a different... No, she can't have an extra follower. But I swear Oh, okay. Apparently he got despawned? I truly don't know. If somebody has a more clear answer in chat, please let us know what just happened there.
Yeah. Apparently, she might have hit mirror too early. That's the only thing that would make sense, that she mirrored too early, and then Kiki just, the game is set up for Kiki to do that if you mirror while Kiki is in tow.
Oh, I see. Okay, so he plays that message if you mirror. Okay, that makes way more sense. Well, on the bright side, it's not very far away. Kiki is right there, and she still has that portal. As long as we don't save and quit after this, you know, we should be okay. So yes, folks, if you're not certain what we just saw, that is intended behavior that's based in the vanilla game, where Kiki can't go to the light world with you. Ah, yes, a fun Armos kill strat here by Gesellschaft. One of those swag strats. I'm always a fan of that. Not opting to use those silvers, by the way. That's very interesting.
But a half magic for your troubles.
It was very expertly done, too, so I'm not exactly sure how much more time it took to do that, but it looked cool. Well, so chat's trying to suggest that JTB is in go mode. Technically speaking, no, we would want that lamp. Although if he can do every dark room, yes, this would count as his go mode.
Now we get Kiki taken care of.
Yeah, so this will be an easier try-next fight for JTB here. I'm going to have a lot less trouble. We get to find out if we were going to be bow-locked before. We weren't when we could have come here a little bit sooner.
Yep. If that small key isn't there, you need a small key to get through that front door, which would have meant you needed the bow to do it.
And if I recall correctly, the item that I had mistaken before for Hookshot Cave was actually lamp, so JTB may or may not end up even checking it.
Yeah, it's in Hookshot Cave. We'll see if JTB bothers or if JTB just assumes he's in go mode at this point.
Which isn't a bad decision to make. I mean, either play makes sense. I would think that at this point, depending on how he feels about his Palace of Darkness dark rooms, and where we find the big key here in Palace of Darkness, that'd be relevant, because that lamp was accessible long before we would have to complete this dungeon. Well, we're going to find out in a moment. JTB appears to not be going to Hookshot Cave, so he will not find that lamp anytime soon.
Just going to mirror out, and there's a flipper, so yeah, he's not going to find the lamp or the temper or silver arrow, sorry. I was getting prepped to say that he's going to be basically doing tempered sword silverless Ganon.
Just to kind of catch chat up, because it looks like Willard's asking about, what happened here with Gesellschaft. A couple of different things. Early on in the game, we actually didn't have a bomb for escape. This led us to the hook shot, which led us to Power Glove, eventually. So a couple of very frustrating items very early on, cost maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. And then later on, Pendant Thieves Town actually had Ice Rod early on, Titan's Mitts right before the bombable floor room, and Flippers on blind. And this wasn't even a green pendant. So Gesellschaft has been there twice, has not killed blind yet, so we're still missing those Flippers for go mode.
Now, interesting that Gesellschaft, yeah, pronunciations. Gesellschaft is just gonna ignore, just gonna go mode for Helmasaur.
Also, we're getting very rare use of the shovel here out of JTB. He needs some more rupees for Kiki. And unfortunately, that shovel dash will not dig extra squares, even though it looks amazing. But he will find that big 20. That's a great find.
Yeah, he needs the money for Kiki.
So that's a really good backup strat. But about that shovel dash, it only digs the very last tile that you stop at. So while it'll dig the ground, so to speak, it won't actually dig for items until that last one. Well, Turtle Room looked pretty good for Gesellschaft. She can do that one in the dark. I've seen practice before, so I imagine JTB is the exact same way. He's probably going to go all the way to the Helmasaur King in this dungeon. Now, the relative time sync of doing dark rooms in Palace of Darkness could put him back a bit, though, because, if you have any troubles in that room, although they do have a lot of health, that would be a huge potential time loss. Although I think both of these runners should have no problems with their dark rooms. Oh, nice. We got the fireball despawn on Gesellschaft's screen. We're going to go for hammer hits here because it does a lot more damage than just doing slashes, but it would take about 8 regular sword slashes from the Master Sword to finish this up. With 3 hammer hits and a sword spin, Gesellschaft has finished up Helmasaur King. About time to find out if after Eastern we're going to go somewhere else. I think at this point she's got to be feeling really frustrated about those flippers.
It's essentially, it really is just going to come down to when she goes back to Thieves Town.
Yeah, I just want to remind folks, you know, because we're talking in chat about using silvers on that Helmasaur King fight. In this tournament setting, you know, your nerves are going to be shot, particularly when you think you're behind. And having not found those flippers at an hour and 10 minutes in, Gesellschaft probably feels behind because of how fast this seed has been in general, plus the escape thing. So, you know, it's not really unusual for people to make small errors. I would not, you know, oh, wow, interesting bomb jump, though. That's a rarely seen one.
Very nicely done.
And I imagine we'll probably get the hammer jump one as well. I mean, why not, right?
It's certainly setting up for it. Gets it, and a 5-bomb upgrade.
That's some really intelligent use of pause buffers. Something about pause buffers that you guys should know is that Link's walk animation will move, when moving left and up, will move 2 pixels per frame, and if you do a pause buffer perfectly, you only move for 1 frame. If you're moving right and down in cardinal directions, you'll only move 1 pixel per frame. So you can use that to line yourself up on a perfect pixel every time. You just got to kind of know how to time the pause buffer.
She unfortunately does not have a key, so it's going to have to mirror back to the start.
Meanwhile, we're looking at right side here for JTB. About to head to the back to kill Helmasaur King, so he's got a nice time advantage for what he's spending in this dungeon, has that big key. In the meantime, a non sequitur for Gesellschaft. We're not going to find those flippers here. Powder's not a bad find, though. Although that probably will send her to Magic Bat.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who sucks at this game like me, I'm really glad to see the magic powder. For these type of runners we're watching, they don't need no powder.
They really don't. I mean, I've seen, well, I know Gesellschaft in her NMG PB recently, she had in her tournament race for the, it was like 130.02, I think it was, but she took magic powder for, or she took fake powder, that was it. No regular powder. Runners at like, you know, the 130 to 140 range oftentimes do skip it. Looks like JTB averted Crisis, though, using the Fire Rod very intelligently against these turtles.
Yes. All right. Let's see where Gesellschaft goes next. I imagine she wanted to go back to Kakariko.
She's got to be feeling the pressure at this point.
All right. Okay, so last night I kind of got, some people thought I was getting ahead of myself. Ahead of myself? What in the world am I saying? Ugh, man, words. I was up late last night commentating. Anywho, if you are new to Randomizer, there is a game we like to play after we get to Ganon's Tower. If you want to participate in said game and get in on the leaderboard, you either need to subscribe to one of our 5 speed gaming channels or need to have donated 250 bits to one of those speed gaming channels. Once JTB finishes his 7th crystal boss, which will be the Armos Knights, I will tell you what that game is.
Yep, but we invite everybody to join in, whether you want to be part of that leaderboard or not. Definitely a fun thing that we like to do with every randomizer race that we can here on the speed gaming channels. While we're going through Skull Woods here, Gesellschaft and JTB going through Eastern Palace, we have a couple of revisited steps. So I want to take this moment to thank the runners for doing this race, and I encourage all of you to follow them. I know that JTB and Gesellschaft are interesting to watch for their NMG and randomizer at the same time. And as I'm sure you can tell, they put on some really interesting strategies on display today. So you can learn a lot from these runners, and I highly recommend you do follow them. I do personally. I've enjoyed their content. I'm sure you will too. And they have a lot of tournament life ahead of both of them. I anticipate both of these runners will make it deep into the tournament. Well, Master Sword Moth is kind of annoying, but half magic Fire Rod makes it easier. JTB doesn't have those silvers, but has 25 arrows. I can't imagine that being an issue.
You need 18, because you need 3 per Armos Knight. And there's a 5 drop there that he completely ignores.
Yeah, we're only going to need 6 for the red Igors, so, should be in good shape with that. Gesellschaft's having a lot of trouble with these spikes, but does manage to finish it up. That's a very frustrating fight when it starts taking longer. Well, you hit a wall at this point if you're Gesellschaft. Definitely need to either go to Meyer or Thieves Town. Thieves Town's actually relatively quicker checks, so I mean, if we're going by that logic, she might actually go in there.
All right, JTB is into the Armos Knights.
Yep, top right strat's going to pump 5 arrows into the right and then just smash him on the left. That'll be a fast kill for him. Very nicely done.
Very nicely done, and that is 7 crystals for JTB. So, there are officially 22 items that can be the annual locations where the Ganon's Tower Big Key could possibly be. If you want to play our game right now, please guess a number between 1 and 22 where you think said Big Key can be.
Well,
where do you think it could be?
Yeah, I was about to ask you the same thing. I have faith in Bob. What about you, Jax?
I'm going to go... We're going to go lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. All right, so we got multiples of 7 if you count Bob's chest being right, then left being 14. So very interesting to see. I also like the luck of that. Now, as far as JTB having, time loss here that could put Giselle back in the map, I mean, we're talking about a dungeon that she has to clear, and she has to make the right decision right now. So it would depend on some pretty bad key logic and maybe some falls to Ganon or Moldorm too, maybe even a death in Ganon's Tower. That's probably what would put her back in the race, but this really seems to be JTB's race to lose at this point. And we don't have to deal with any dark rooms either, so this is truly go mode for him. He has nothing he has to really find at this point. It's curious to see if he's going to stop for any chests with silvers missing in Tempered Sword, because in NMG you would typically do that silverless anyway. Oh, we're going to get a Fat Fairy check as well. Taking damage boost, which is nice there to get the dash with the bomb. Looks like we have skipped over the East Dark Death Mountain chest, so JTB will not be finding silvers or his lamp.
All right. Once JTB goes through that door, the guessing will be finished. And guessing is officially closed. All right.
Well, that's not what we're looking for.
I missed the first 2 items while I was handling the game. What were they?
I also missed them. I had my attention turned elsewhere. My apologies. But we have not found a big key yet, though.
All right. So number 3 is a small.
Oh, it was number 1 apparently.
Of course, the one time I'm not looking is the one time it's number 1.
Well, folks, so the very first chest of Ganon's Tower, and you also notice that JTB did pick up a key going to the left side to do that. Smart play, because you're not guaranteed one besides the mini Helmasaur King up top. And you're going to need 2 total.
Young Guru 42, you were correct with the guess of number 1, so congratulations.
Well, that is fantastic news for JTB. Misery Meyer here, a pretty miserable experience for Gesellschaft. I get the feeling she's going to have a lot of feelings about this race afterwards, because this is not going to be a good find. There's 2 items we can get in here, and neither of them are going to point us in the right direction. Now, of course, I mean, hard to say, we have the knowledge that we do. Gesellschaft does not know, or at least does not think that the 1 item in Thieves Town is more likely than this check. So, there's no right or wrong gamble. You never know until you find him. Nice chest turn, though. It looks like JTB is going to hedge his bets, probably thinking that he's made some good decisions here. He's going to make sure he gets a heal in Ganon's Tower.
And at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 42 seconds, JTB is officially into the gauntlet.
Yeah, it's a very straightforward segment of the game. we normally wouldn't have silver arrows in the NMG run that JTB does, so this isn't unfamiliar territory. He's going to opt to use his fire rod because he needs those arrows for later.
Yeah, hopefully you need at least 4. Oh wait, he doesn't have silver arrows though.
Oh yeah, so arrows become a little bit less relevant. He could use them in a few different segments up ahead, but they're not crazy important.
Yeah, he's gonna be doing Tempered Sword silverless.
Well, good news for Gesellschaft. She does find the big key, but we'll have to check everything anyway because, you know, flippers.
Or at least until she finds the 2 items.
Precisely. Which would be very rough if it was on Vitreous. Oh, hey, there's a cape.
There's a cape. We know there's just a big 20 on the bumper cave, so she won't be going back there.
In the meantime, some nice Samaria strats for JTB to get through these next 2 Wizrobe rooms. Very straightforward fights there. Hopefully gets a 1 cycle here in this next one.
Very nicely done.
And we're going to find out in just a couple of chests here whether or not Gesellschaft's going all the way to Vitreous. It's beginning to look a lot like eyeballs.
That's new for me.
Yeah, I know. I just didn't want to have to say that, but you know, it's rough. And this is the exact kind of thing that I'd be finding myself doing, honestly. I mean, there's a reason that some people in this tournament get 2.5 hour times and some people get hour-half times. Gesellschaft, in spite of making some, you know, mistakes with Thieves Town, is still completing the sea very fast. Just want to point it out, folks. We have near full Y item completion. You know, barely an hour in. Well, we did get a Moldorm 2 item, or the restock room before Moldorm 2 check, so JTB is still hoping to find silvers or a sword upgrade. The sword upgrade's still possible. We haven't seen the 4th one yet.
Yep, but we know silver arrows is a super bunny cave, so JTB ain't gonna find it. And stealing Moldorm's last possession for 20 bucks.
Wow, vanilla. I love that. I keep finding vanilla 20s in that chest. Very funny. And I always wondered, you know, like, what's the logic of putting a 20 rupee in there? I know it's like it's a hookshot chest. That's the whole reason it's there, but I always thought like maybe arrows would be more useful or like a health refill or something.
JTB is into Aga 2.
Yep, so we didn't see Aghanim 1 fight this seed, but oh wow, that could have been a triple.
It was certainly a double, though.
Yeah, at least a double either way. So if
there's 3,
if 2 of them hit on the same frame, one of them will not count. So that would have been the 4th one?
Yeah. That was 4. Ooh, missed it there.
But yeah, you can get up to 3 per phase. There's a 50-50 chance that Aghanim will throw a blue ball at you, the real one. So I think that was 4 cycles. JTB did pretty well there.
Yeah, down Aga 2 and Ganon time for JTB.
Well, there was a catfish check here on Gesellschaft casing the entire world of Hyrule at this point. Really not wanting to go back to Thieves Town, but we have a Ganon fight here for JTB.
It will be silverless, though, so you need 12 hits on Ganon in phase 1 and 2, and then 12 Tempered Sword spins in phase 4 to get rid of the big pig.
Yep, he did really well for the first phase, but that second phase, Fire Bats trolled him a bit. He's going to take a death here. He does have a... No, he doesn't have a fairy, but he has potions.
He has potions, but no fairies, so... Round 2.
Yeah, Ganon Hugs hurt a lot, no matter what melee you have. Gesellschaft does not have 500 rupees, Gonna be a little upset about that Zora. And it wasn't even gonna be valuable anyway.
We know it was just a 5-arrow upgrade.
Ooh, JTB got the perfect RNG for phase 2 here. He can just do 3 sword spins and it'll hit twice each. Just wants to hookshot down to that torch next. Instead going to opt to use Cane and Burna, which is a little laggy, but it is safer.
But JTB is into phase 3.
Yeah, so that's a 1-in-1 cycle for his refight. That's very good.
Although Ganon's being very teleporty at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the refight would have the same RNG as the first one, but that is actually set between both runners, so Gesellschaft should have the same number of warps, I believe, when she goes to fight it. Will check Spike Cave, though. Really running out of places to go. Here in phase 4, though, JTB is going to try to get that torch glitch. Very careful to do so with that fire rod.
Yep, and now just 12 tempered sword spins while Ganon is in the midst of teleporting, and we have game for JTB. He's already got 2.
Yep, so this is one of the most practiced fights in the NMG speedrun. You can optimally get up to 3 attacks per cycle if you light that torch while you're charging your sword and timing it well with Ganon's warps. Typically with the lamp, you could only do 2, and you'd still have to have torch glitch to reliably get that. So in a best case scenario, about 4 total lightings, probably like 5 or 6 for most runners, though. Well, he's closing in on it. He's done at least 6 already.
Yeah, he's making good time.
Doesn't have to worry about his magic too much. He has half magic and potions.
Should be close here. Right as Gesellschaft heads back to Thieves Town for the flippers.
Yeah, she's going to see the dot done in a moment and know exactly what happened.
Yep. But that is game for JTB.
JTB will rise up to 3-0 here in the Swiss brackets. Well, the qualifiers pretty much. But he's going to finish with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 5 seconds. GG's in chat, folks. He did a great job today.
Yep, spam those GG's in chat.
And we'll see if we can get him in for an interview in just a moment. And of course, chat, as I'm seeing pointed out in chat, nicely done. Also cheer on Gesellschaft as she finishes up Flippers here, Swamp Palace, and then Ganon's Tower. Well, the seed also pointing out that, yeah, got him. That's pretty much the feeling that JTB is probably going to feel after he realizes, once we talk to him, you know, how he got so far ahead. Because, you know, in terms of execution, both of these runners were very competitive with each other as far as, you know, actual movement and boss kills. There weren't too much, you know, there wasn't that much separation between them on that level.
And joining us in chat is JTB. GG.
GG.
GG indeed. Holy smokes.
How you feeling, man?
That was probably the best, like, seed I've ever played the entire time I played this game.
Well, you made some very good choices, and are you curious as to see what the main difference was in your routing?
Sure.
Well, so Gesellschaft here right now is actually in the blind fight, and that is the single biggest difference between the two of you guys today. I mean, there was early on with the bomb and escape, but this was the big thing.
I thought about leaving after finding the myths, but I was like, you know, I'm this far in, and Thieves Town was open up like very early. Like normal, I think if I was in like a normal race, like a daily or whatever, I'd probably skip it, but I didn't want to take any chances, you know, for a race like this.
Yeah, essentially what happened with her, as she's now finally getting the flippers, what essentially happened was she went out, she went out after getting the ice rod, went back in, got the Titan's mitts, and went out again.
Oh no. Yeah, Thieves Town Pendant it's tricky. I rather just clear it and not try to think later on about whether or not I should have cleared it.
Well, so neither of you dived into Ice Palace, and Gesellschaft did go into Misery Mire, didn't finish up Vitreous, found the cape in there, but I don't think there's anything else of value. So it seems like there was a lot that you were both able to avoid here. The Turtle Rock, she ended up going to a little bit sooner than you, but that didn't exactly find us the flippers.
Right.
Well, so,
Oh my goodness.
you know, as far as this race time goes, I mean, is this your fastest so far in the tournament?
In the tournament, yeah. So definitely have had faster seeds like jet seeds, but this is definitely, I think, a really good time that's representative of my skill.
I truly think that both of you guys put on a great show for us today. You know, I mean, we got to see a lot of different decision-making, I guess, models. You know, both of you seem to be making the not gambles, but decisions towards, you know, item-dense locations. For example, as soon as both of you had access to Dark World, instantaneously to Hype Cave. And that paid off really well because your routing benefited from it. Where was your head at when you found that mirror? Like, where were you thinking about heading to first? What was your, I guess, intended route from there?
That was exactly what I was looking for. I always go to Hype Cave as soon as I get that Dark World access, solely just to see if I can find the mirror there. So that way I could just go, you know, do the south route, you know, get everything out of the way. Especially if I need to go into Thieves Town, then I can just have all the stuff that's in South Dark World first before I do that to kind of help me determine if I need to do the full Thieves Town or not. So I was feeling pretty good when I found that mirror.
You know, part of me is wondering what we're going to see in your end credits for the pedestal, because I did see in the bio that you filled out, you definitely didn't want a pedestal seat.
Right. I don't know how to route pedestal, like how to make that call, so I just rather not see it at all. But it looks like it was a shield.
Oh, that's spoilers. I didn't see that yet. But yeah, it's an unknown shield, though.
Oh.
We didn't have the fire shield yet, so that's not going to be a riot shield just yet.
Right. Or Silver's found it all?
Yes, actually. You ran right past them on your way to Ganon's Tower. They were in Super Bunny Cave, and that lamp was actually in Hookshot Cave.
I thought about going to there. You know, when I went up to Turtle Rock, I'm like, you know what? I'll go ahead and do Turtle Rock first because I'm just that one item away from go mode, and then I'll go into Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave afterwards. But once I found that bow, I'm like, okay, I'm just making a beeline again to Tower.
Well, another thing that was really exciting for us here on the commentary side, and I'm sure for the audience as well, was that both of you are NMG runners. Definitely really exciting to see representation from, you know, across the scene. And you may even notice if you happen to have the restream up, Gesellschaft here is doing some hovers, you know, to get to the big key chest in Palace of Darkness, just for a little bit of extra post-race swag. But, you know, it's very nice to see a lot of people from the NMG scene showing some of these techniques and honestly, fast kills. You had the Tempered Sword, which puts you in pretty much NMG mode for most of this run.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I've only ever done one NMG run, and it was like a 139. I haven't done anything else besides that. But I know Gesellschaft is like a very experienced NMG runner, and honestly, going into this match, I was like super afraid because I knew that she has a lot more technical skill than I did, so I really was just going to rely on my routing more so than my execution.
Yeah, and as we always want to highlight, you know, there is no good or bad play. Sometimes things just kind of don't work out. Ooh, actually, I think we have Gesellschaft in the server. I can bring her in just a moment here.
Yeah, she wasn't sure about what to do in terms of forfeiting, so we have that taken care of. So we're going to bring her in now. GG.
GG, Gesellschaft.
GG's.
GG.
How are you feeling about this race? I mean, I'm seeing some hovers here.
Oh, I'm kind of off at the moment. I can't really hover, but I mean, the rest is fine. It's rando. Like literally playing the odds and it doesn't work out. So, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, that Thieves Town having 3 key items in it did not certainly did not help out today.
Well, yeah, statistically that shouldn't happen, but it's also not even so much that, it's the fact that I wasn't sure about the item count. I figured that there might be one more item in there, but wasn't entirely sure. And then, so I had it in the back of my mind for a long time, but it's just not a play that, like, I don't disagree with my decision at all. That's just purely bad luck. I mean, going back into the dungeon wasn't too bad. A lot of my, like, the only thing I'm actually upset about is some of the more execution and, like, kind of movement errors. In terms of rando in a siege, you can't help something like this. Even if you play proper, that's just how rando goes. You either win one or you can lose one just on a single decision, even if it's, you know, the proper decision.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is how it happens, but, I mean, props to you for going as far as you did. You certainly did a lot better than I would have done in with this seed.
I knew one of these seeds would come up eventually, and there's nothing I could do about it. Like, literally the same thing happened in the Kusani tournament. So, I mean, just statistically speaking, I was pretty much owed, and, you know, just how it goes.
Well, definitely an attitude I think all of us can appreciate. And of course, you know, with the record only being at a 2-1, still a commanding presence here in the brackets in the top 50% of all racers leaving this week, which still puts you in a really great position to advance the brackets. Both of us, you know, here racing, Gesellschaft and JTB, I'm really excited to see what both of you will do in the tournament. I'm kind of curious if we're going to see a reunion in the bracket at this point.
Yeah, that'd be neat. I'm kind of happy because now I get to play against some friends of mine, like Dragon, in the tournament. But like, these turns to me, they're about learning and putting on a show. So if I was able to, you know, have some fun with the viewers, or learn something from it myself, or for others to learn from my play, that's really what it's all about for me. And I mean, with so many people, you know, just given the nature of rando, it's very chaotic. So, you know, the Swiss format itself, like things like this will happen. But yeah.
Well, speaking of putting on a show, how about some of those chest turns and hovers? And there was a lot of really fun stuff to see in your race.
Thank you.
Yes, both is it Gesellschaft or Gesellschaft? I'm sorry, I've been butchering the name the whole race.
More or less, it's like Gesellschaft. The emphasis is more on the first part, but I'm pretty indifferent to the pronunciation. Like, no one ever offends me if they mispronounce it.
Can relate.
All right, well, Gesellschaft and JTB both deserve your follows on Twitch. They did an awesome job on this race. We also want to give a shout out to our tracker Merc249 for keeping track of all the items that we uncovered as this race was going on. All of them deserve your follows on Twitch.
And it was an absolute pleasure to commentate with you today, Jex. I'm sure, you know, everybody here is definitely well entertained by the commentary you provided. I'm definitely looking forward to a chance to do this again with you. And of course, you know, we're only 3 weeks in. You know, we still have 4 more weeks of, you know, the whole Swiss bracket to work with. So, folks, if you want to catch all of the randomizer action here for this tournament, the best place you can do so is by following the Speed Gaming channels 1 through 6, and of course, ALTTP randomizer 1 through 4 to catch every single tournament race.
Yes, Eudamonistic, certainly give him a follow as well. If you are looking for more randomizer action, we have 2 races going on right now. One on Speed Gaming 2 and one on ALTTP Randomizer 2. We also have races at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and 11 p.m. Those are on ALTTPR 3. And Speed Gaming 5 at 9, the main Speed Gaming channel at 10, and Speed Gaming 4 at 11. So please be sure to keep tuned to all of our channels, both Speed Gaming and ALTTP Randomizer, because we've got a ton more rando going during this race. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and please be sure to stay tuned and have a great evening.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for commentating.